Hello, everyone. Today we have a holiday treat for you. Robin and I are in the same town, so we're coming to you on the same screen.
Hello, everybody.
We wanted to talk today about divination tools, your beliefs, true and false, and how those beliefs are projecting into your reality. And we have a family friend that has given us a couple of questions that we wanted to get into this mix, but we're going to start off with what exactly are divination tools?
Yes, divination tools are things like tarot cards, the pendulum, runes, I believe is another one. Can you think of any other, Heidi?
Tea leaves?
Tea leaves, yes. And really what we wanted to bring this up because many are very shocked at how well these things work. Yes. And so what we really want to give to you is that you as the source, as the God that you are, as you decide to believe in something, your source joins you in that belief. And so it has no problem operating through a pendulum, through these cards that you were talking about, the tea leaves or the runes. And the best readers are the ones that are more committed or more believing in what it is they are using as a divination tool. You see, it is nothing more than a tool. We laugh a little bit because you're a tool too. And your source is often using you as its tool in order to do the experiencing it is doing. But really, we want you to understand there's no harm in these things. We know that in some religions, and even in the Bible, perhaps, there have been some mention that these are evil, these are bad things. And we would tell you that we do not believe that this is the case at all. It is nothing more than the belief that one holds in them that actually causes the source to join them in responding to the questions and the answers that they are wanting to get.
Okay, good. So would you consider the Bible a divination tool?
We would consider the Bible a great tool, yes, a teaching tool. However, the problem is there are so many projecting their beliefs into that one tool that it becomes a little distorted or not as accurate sometimes based upon the person's belief system or what it is that they have experienced in their own lives. Where when you are using a tool that is individual to you and you are in alignment as you do it, you can get a very clear reading or a very clear message from your source or all that is in what it is you're asking about. So the idea of the Bible being a divination tool would depend on your connection to your source when you are using it, when you are translating it, let's use that term, and how you are responding to it. Are you responding in fear? Are you responding in love? What is it that you are thinking and feeling as you are using this tool? And that is true of these other tools that we have talked about, but we would tell you that with the Bible, there are many, yes, who have put in their beliefs. It is not the original text that was once delivered. It has been changed from one volume to the next. So we would not declare that there aren't some wonderful teachings that are completely accurate and true that are in your Bible, but it is also based upon the person that is perceiving it, because so much in your life is based upon your life experiences, how you've been taught. Were you taught to follow in love? Were you taught to follow in looking for the good feeling things, the best things, and expect the best from people and circumstances? And then this would be that way that tool would give that to you. But if you are one that comes from fear, you're going to cling to every little nugget in there that says, don't do this, don't do that, or you're damned if you do this, damned if you don't do that. And so this is the contrast that is really in that text that sometimes we are in a little bit of conflict with just because of the perception of it, you see.
Sure. And I guess maybe I would ask or add, the Bible is such an old text, and like you said, resubmitted over and over and over again. Is some of it lost in the human interpretation of things over, say, the last couple thousand years from what its original intent was?
Yes, that would be signifying that there's dogma really in every type of spiritual belief that any person holds. Even what we are doing as channeler, yes, there are those that are going to poo-poo it, or those that are going to agree with it. There's going to be those that are dishonest about it, those that are honest about it. And so just about every religion that you have this possibility of it being distorted. But what we do want to remind you is of this guidance system that you have. Most people know that if you are reading something and you start to feel negativity and you are feeling separation, then you would know that your interpretation of what it is you are ingesting or taking in is not necessarily in alignment to source. It is exactly the opposite. So we would tell you to pay very close attention. If you read your Bible and you feel connected and you feel good, and you feel in a love state and you're very comfortable what it is that you are reading and the way that you are understanding it, then you will feel good as you do it. So if you pay attention to your system, if you're not feeling good and you are having something projected from perhaps someone else who has read it or telling you what it means and it doesn't really agree with you, then we would tell you to withdraw yourself from that practice and then rely upon your own guidance system and not the information that someone else is trying to drive into you.
Okay. All right. So this question comes from a family friend of ours, and it is having to do a little bit of having to do with true, false, good, bad, right, wrong. The question reads, how do you deal with people who won't believe anything you tell them, despite how much evidence you may have to support that your point is true, valid, right, etc.?
We would start right out by saying that these people would not be before you if you were not one that was trying to convince people to believe in something they did not want to believe in. We don't want you going around trying to force something onto someone or to make them align with you or believe what it is that you believe. That is not your purpose or your reason. The minute you feel that kind of conflict, we would recommend very highly to you that you withdraw yourself from that conversation, because the negativity you feel is in the idea that you somehow know something that the other one doesn't want to receive or doesn't believe. You see, everyone is a sovereign being. Everyone is creating sovereignly themselves. They are choosing and picking what it is they will align to and not align to. And just because you bring something to someone that you are deeming as true or false does not mean that they are stubborn or wrong because they are deciding not to align to it. We would say cheerio to those that have decided not to, and to stay with what it is that they feel good in and what it is that they believe. This is what you are doing here. You are not coming here to be puppets or to be trained into believing as another believes. The very statement that someone doesn't want to believe, read it to us again, Heidi, just so we can
How
hear
do
it.
you deal with people who won't believe anything, no matter how much evidence you have to support that you're right or what it's true?
And it just signifies to us a little bit of disgust. How could this one be so stupid? How could they not see the writing on the wall or understand what it is I am trying to tell them, you see? We want you to allow people to have their sovereignty, to make their own choice, to not have to make them agree with you or be that what you are. This is the biggest reason that you would have these type of experiences in your experience at all, is because you are a know-it-all. You are one that wants to tell others what you know. And when they don't want to agree with you, you want to give them the facts on why they should know it. And they should know it for no other reason than they believe it themselves.
Okay. Okay. So just kind of going on that same subject, there are certain universal truths, like, for example, 2 + 2 = 4. Most people would say, yes, that's true. Yes. Why then, if you say there's no true or false or right or wrong, why is that the case that everybody would agree 2 + 2 is 4?
This is a universal teaching or mass consciousness agreement that all of you are a part of, that are focused here in this earth plane. It is something that you have decided to be true, and others have aligned with it in that truth. We have told you before that as you watch your TV and the advertisements, as you pick out your diet, as you listen to the news on what you should eat or drink, what is healthy, what is not healthy, that the biggest thing that is causing your not health is your belief in it, in your belief that if I do not do this, this, and this, then I will not be healthy, you see. But there are certain things when you are operating on this plane together as a community of people, we would use that term, that you need these agreements or these certain mass conscious agreements in order to function. People all, of course, when you are dealing with money, when you are dealing with the cost of homes or properties or whatever else, get me 2 apples at the store, no, make it 4, 2 + 2, whatever you are saying, yes. But this is an understanding of mass consciousness that is to the benefit. And we would say when something is to your benefit, it is a good idea to align with mass consciousness. It is a tool that you are using as a group of humans that are all operating on this plane of existence. But when mass consciousness becomes a problem, is when it isn't something you can really use and you are frightened into taking it, whether you want it or not. Like some of these ads that you have about medicines, all the while they are telling you all the awful things it can do to your body in the advertisement as they are trying to sell it to you at the same time, you see. And many humans will adopt this fear-based mass consciousness information, and it is not a benefit to them then. The only thing that's a benefit to you is something that you feel good as you are ingesting it, you see.
Okay. So in the follow-up part to that question, then I'm assuming is going to be a similar answer. If you have someone that's intending harm to themselves, whether it's drinking poison, stabbing themselves, or putting a gun to their head, you would say, oh, I need to stop them. That's wrong. And what if they believed, oh, I'm not going to die?
These are kind of nonsense questions, we would tell you, but we will answer them anyway.
Yeah.
There's not a one of you out there that could take a sharp knife and start to draw it across your neck that would not have a doubt or a worry that this is going to cut themselves open, you see. And for sure, you're going to be harmed. So in this way, how could you ever possibly believe that you would not harm yourself as you do this? So therefore, you will never not harm yourself.
So I guess in that instance and the number instance, these are things that I don't know if we'd call them universal truths, but we would call them
agreements.
Agreements on a very large scale.
Yes, of mass consciousness. Yes.
Okay. All right. And then I just noticed, so we're going to get to this too, we have another listener question, and I will read that for Athena. I've been paying close attention to my thoughts. I've noticed that immediately after a thought, there's another thought that comes to mind, like within a second. When I examine that second thought, it seems to be a higher thought, not just a product of my brain or conscious mind. It's like it's committing from somewhere else. I'm wondering if this quick second thought is my higher non-physical self speaking to me from a broader perspective.
We would tell you that if you feel good, we would again use the guidance system, then it is often or always, let's use the word always, coming from the higher part of yourself or a higher perspective. We have explained before that how do you get things or how do thoughts start coming? Well, first of all, you have something that you observe. And then as you observe it, immediately it becomes part of your universe. It is added to you. And then maybe for some reason you start to emote about it. Maybe there's a charge that comes with it. We use the excuse or symbol, yes? Say Robin says, oh, I like ladies with brown hair, you see.
Yes.
And then she might start to see several ladies with brown hair that day. But then one day her husband says, as she said that comment, I like ladies with brown hair, he says, I do too. And immediately Robin gets some emotion because she's thinking, well, I've got blonde hair. I don't know if I really like that. Now she feels a little vulnerable. Now she feels a little bit not so good about the brown hair. But she's added this emotion. And as she's added this emotion, more thoughts are going to start coming when you have emotion. This is what the universe does. It doesn't know whether you are creating by default in your unconsciousness of your human or whether you are creating in consciousness of the high part of yourself who is picking and choosing the way that it will feel. All it simply does is start responding to the emotive things that you are emoting about and then it will automatically supply you with more and more thoughts because those thoughts will generate more and more thoughts, and as you think about it, pretty soon circumstances and situations regarding those thoughts will start to show up and form is coming in very short order after that, you see.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Well, I hope so. It was a viewer question, so I hope it answered her question.
Yes. We would tell you in regard to her question, that she has asked, she has the intention to be attached to or connected to her source. So that response she personally is getting has been invited to herself by herself. So we are saying to you as you listen to this recording, whoever you are, that yes, that is your high self because that's what you intended. You sat there waiting to hear it. You sat there listening for it, believing in it, and you got it.
Yes. Okay, so I think the last week or two, we had mentioned to viewers that we were going to try to use some either personal or experiences or from people around us experiences to try to use as a lesson. And with Robin's permission, if it's okay, I was going to use one that we kind of fell upon this week.
Yes, okay. Absolutely.
Okay, so the experience, obviously we use pickleball many times as our learning or our teacher experience. And we were, her son, myself, and Robin were in a group and we were adding a fourth player to play. and we were trying to hash out who was going to get that fourth player. And my response was, because Robin and her son can be powerful hitters, that this person should go with one of them and not with me to make it like a round fair game. And so she was trying to decide who was going to get him. Was it going to be her son or her? And her son was giving her what he felt was just the hard facts. And I believe it was true. I don't believe his intention was to hurt his mother at all. He just said, you're going to either be the best player out there, or you're going to be the worst if you're having an inconsistent time. And Robin was hurt by that. And so later we were kind of discussing it, and the group was kind of explaining why that was. And I also said to her son that it was the perception, because everybody has their nest of wounds and emotions. And even though he didn't mean it and he wasn't trying to be harmful, she took it that way, and it affected her. So can you give us a little bit about that situation?
Yes. Yes, and we would agree with you. He in no way meant to offend or harm his mother. Yes, right. His comment, because he would probably, as Mike, being the way that he was, be able to receive that comment to him and not be hurt by it.
Right.
But Robin was a chubby little girl. She did not get picked very often in sports and struggled throughout her days and years with this type of treatment, you see. So she has the soft spot there where she can be wounded very easily by someone else's opinion of her inner sports or something that she would be competing in. It's her confidence. Don't forget, that's how we arrived. Yes. And so this is the reason that this actually came forward, and we think it is a good thing, is it alerted Robin again to a wound that is not healed within her. Now, should everyone be careful of what they say to everyone else, which I think was her son's response. He was a little irritated by it, but we said that is not necessarily the case. We would say the fault, if there is any fault, does lie with Robin. She needs to heal this wound within herself so that whatever anyone else projects at her will have no bearing on her, you see. And she has not yet reached that place or point. But we offered also to Heidi in response that as a human, many times another human who is wounded, as you become more connected to your source, you will also get the download or the understanding of where that human is coming from, what it is they harbor within them. Now, we know, Heidi, that you would not have used that terminology with Robin. Would you like to say why you would not have?
Because I have the same wounds, basically.
Yes. So, but there, we are just wanting to let you know, though. But I also think you perceived Robin. You also know that she has it. Yes, for one thing. And so, we want to say that the best thing you can do is to try to elevate your fellow man, not to discourage or to poke the wound or to make it difficult on them. Believe me, they will already know, they're already aware of it themselves. And so by giving them a compliment, if they really need it, or recognizing someone that maybe you can tell they're looking for attention and some people just don't want to give it for that reason, why don't you look at them a little bit more in the child state or the inner child that they are that is needing it, and just offer it to them, because there's no loss here. There's no downside to this. As you offer something to another, as you emanate that love, that kindness, that offering, the universe is receiving you. Don't forget, and it thinks, this one is kind, this one is offering. Let's give her some kindness. Let's offer to her, you see. Yeah. And so we merely made the statement that this is a way that you can live your life. You can give people what they need. There's no reason not to. There's no reason to try to poke or prod or point out the difficulties that one is having. Just give them what they need and know that when you do it, you're going to receive it yourself.
Yes. I think maybe before I came in, I didn't hear the whole conversation, but there was some talk about how you're feeling presently and how that projects into your future.
Yes.
So if you are someone that presently is dissatisfied with life and not feeling good about where things are, can you just give us a little bit of what you explained to that person?
We have talked about this in past recordings. We are not sure if we have touched on it in the YouTube, but we know we have in the podcast. Anything that you find yourself sitting in right now in the life that you are in has been created by past perceptions and choices that you held in the lives that you lived prior to coming, and then also in the view of the lineage that you have. So whatever you have experienced, say by your parents, your grandparents, or anyone that is in your close proximity when you are being raised or otherwise. Yes. And so you have to realize that what you are experiencing, you have created. And when a human is in something that they don't like, when they see the form of something in their life that they do not like, they want to feel victimized by it. They want to deny that they are the creator of it. They think, well, right now in the life I'm in, I can't think how I have done this or how I've drawn this to myself. And we would say just sitting in that victimization is what you sat in prior to coming here. And now you're sitting in it again. You're not going to remember. You're not going to know exactly what it is that has drawn the experiences to you that you are getting right now. But we are here to tell you that you are getting them because of the way that you perceived, the way that you focused, and the way that you decided to react in emotion value as you experienced these other lives before you entered here. So you have to decide right now in this moment, what am I going to do? Am I going to continue to feel this way? Am I going to justify that I feel miserable? I don't have the life I want. I don't have the money I want, the mate that I want. I'm victimized. Or am I going to decide, hey, I'm creating my life, my next life right now. I'm creating my next day right now. When are you going to finally understand that what you think and feel matters? And it is why you are having the situations you are having now, because you lived unconsciously in the past, and you are continuing to live unconsciously presently. We want you to realize that when you are unconscious, when you think that you are victimized, you're in your human. You're in your suffering. Whenever you're in your suffering, you are not in your source, you're in your human. So know that right away I'm suffering. Guess what? I'm in my human. I'm creating unconsciously. I got to get my source in here. I've got to implement the high part of myself to start guiding me to feel better, because if I don't, I'm going to create unconsciously again and again and again. And you're going to be in this loop from one lifetime to the next, and you're going to get sick of it, we would tell you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that clear?
It is clear.
Yes.
Is every soul's experience with something such as you just were discussing, like when you say from lifetime to lifetime, I mean, are we talking 100 lifetimes, 10 lifetimes? Like,
we're talking all of it.
Or is everybody different in the time?
We're talking all of it. You are accumulation of everything you have ever lived. And it is how you are going to perceive your environment until you decide to perceive consciously with the help of your source. I choose how I feel. I decide not to be victimized. I pick the way I want to emanate so that I can be returned on that. Humans just don't realize that they're never justified in any negativity, because that emanation is what's being returned on.
Yes. Yeah.
All the time. So you have to be very careful. And when you start becoming the master, you consciously recognize, I'm in suffering right now. I'm not feeling good. I'm creating unconsciously. I'm going to have more of this in my tomorrows. What can I do right here, right now? What can I do to shift this? Well, you can own it. I might have done this in the past, but now I'm going to implement the high part of you. I'm going to ask, first of all, come in, join me, give me another perspective, another view, a higher level of consciousness in order to perceive what it is I'm going through. Many of you decide that you want to come here, you want to have the car, the house, the lover that you want, the money that you want, and you make that your primary concern or reason for being here. And we're here to tell you that your primary reason for being here is to be connected to your source and to be the master of your human tool. And when you do this, all the other stuff just comes with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to follow your inner truth, instead of more, so many people get caught up in that outside world and doing things that maybe they don't want to do because they need this or they need that, but really honoring the self is...
Let's go back to the Robin situation again, when she was wounded, yes? She didn't need to say anything to anyone or to Mike. She could have just said to her, I love you for the experiences you had. I understand you being not confident. I understand that hit the wound in you. It's okay. You are an experiencer that has experienced much suffering in being rejected, not good enough, not looking good enough, whatever it is that you experienced that caused you to have that perception. I love you for it. You see? And the minute she would have done that, it would have given it up. It's that easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wants to be heard.
Right.
It wants her to hear it. It doesn't care about Mike or you or anyone else. It's you and you again. It wants you to recognize, not to defend it, not to be shamed by it, It wants you to love it because it has experienced this for you. This is what its experience was as a human. Why don't you just soothe it, recognize it, and then it will immediately be resolved.
Yeah. And if I could add to this, and of course, Athena will correct me if I am not right in my assumption, but years ago, I did like a practice where you would look back in your life to a painful experience and then you would soothe that child.
Absolutely.
So like if you were 10 years old and you had this traumatic experience, you'd talk to it and give it all the love and understanding that it didn't have in that moment. And that's basically what Robin was just saying with herself. But just to our listeners, you can do that, right, Athena? You can do that with all areas. You could sit at night in bed if you can't sleep, and you could just go back and just offer love to whatever areas you are suffering in.
And then we want you to understand, when we talk about the ability of one to create and the massive contribution that you make to all that is as you do it, when you heal an aspect within yourself, you become the vibration of that. And when you go out into the world, this is what you are offering. You are offering more of this to those that are experiencing similar situations or circumstances to what you have transcended. And believe it or not, that vibratory level is contagious. It matters. With a woman loses her husband, for example, and she is in great grief, and somehow she pulls herself out of it. She decides that she's going to live again. She's going to show her family that there is life after death, that there is no reason to stay in this misery and suffering other than you are going to bring others down as you do it. She can decide in that moment to raise her consciousness. And this is what happens. Every time you decide not to suffer, every time you decide to heal a wound within yourself, you elevate your consciousness and you become the emanation of that elevated level. And that vibration now goes out into the world, and anyone coming into contact with you is lifted by that experience. It's a big deal, the job that you're doing here. Many think when they look out on the roads and they see all the cars going down the highways that it doesn't matter. And we would tell you all of it matters. Your contribution matters. It is a culmination of all of humans that are vibrating together that will lift the consciousness for the entire world.
Yeah, that's good. That's good information for sure. Well, Athena, do you have any closing thoughts for our viewers?
We do. We want to wish everyone a happy holidays. We are here today with our guide and sister, yes? And we want you to understand, take this challenge for the new year. Give up the money, the house, the car, the love of your life, the relationships you have to have that are making you miserable, and just decide that your focus for 2024, is it, Heidi? Yes?
Yeah, 2023.
2023. Sorry, we're a year ahead of you. Yes? That you are going to decide that mastery is all that matters to you. That you're going to be the picker, the chooser, the decider of how you will feel about the experiences you're having. And that lifting your consciousness is your goal. And we're here to tell you something. All the other stuff is just going to come automatically from that level of vibration. Good day.
Good day. Well, thank you everyone for listening in. Merry Christmas from me as well. And if you have any future questions, comments, or if you'd like to be on the show, email me, Heidi, at athenaintruth.com. Thanks, everyone.